Hi YouTube! Today we're going to be talking about the United States Constitution, specifically the different articles and the structure. And remember that the United States Constitution is going to set out the structure and function of this new Republican form of government. So I can write that here, structure and function of new Republican government. That's an important theme to remember. So, let's first get on to the preamble. So in the preamble, it's basically going to be an introduction to the Constitution, and it's going to state 6 purposes of government. And these purposes of government can be establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, providing for the common defense, etc. So the preamble is more of just an introduction that the founders, the framers, they wanted to give a little introduction to the Constitution. So let's move on to Article 1. And this is talking about the legislative branch. So within this article, it's going to create the bicameral legislature. It's going to lay out the electoral requirements for Congress and legislative procedures, more of like a general term, and it's also going to specify the powers of Congress. So that's all about Article 1, and remember, legislative, so maybe I can make that another color. That's important that you remember. Article 1 is legislative. Article 2, this is going to be all about the executive branch. And in this, it's going to define qualifications for office. It's going to describe the powers and duties of the president. It's going to talk about the Electoral College. It's going to talk about the oath of office and office of the vice president. So Article 2, remember all about the executive. Let's move on to Article 3. And that is going to be about the judicial branch. It's going to create the Supreme Court of the United States. It's going to also grant Congress the power to create lower federal courts. And Congress is able to restructure those lower federal courts as well, as granted by the Constitution. So, maybe I'll give a little more space here. Let's move on to Article 4. And this one I actually have trouble remembering, but it's relations among states. And in this article, it's going to talk about several key clauses that regulate relationships among the states and between the states and governments. So I'm going to make that blue. Remember, Article 4, relationships among states. And Article 5 is about the amendment process. And this is going to show federalism. If you don't remember federalism, that is the separation of power between the states and the national government. And it's going to talk about how the United States Constitution, it might be changed through proposal, and that's going to be at the national level, and ratification, which is going to be at the state level. So the amendment process is very important as well. So that's all laid out in Article 5. So we only have 2 more left. So let's get through it. We have Article 6, which is going to talk about national supremacy. And in national supremacy, it's going to state that federal laws and treaties are the highest law of the land and are binding on the states. So it's also going to require that certain government officials swear on oath, and also prohibits religious tests. So this is sort of a lot of different things. It's talking about supremacy, national supremacy. It's also going to talk about no religious tests and the oath, like I said. And last but not least, Article 7, which is ratification process of the Constitution. And this is going to lay out that the article requires 9 states to initially ratify the Constitution for it to become affected as to those states. So remember, you're going to need 9 states, and then the Constitution will be in effect for those states. So those are the articles. I can put this back up, but here, why don't I make this a little nicer? And you can feel free to screenshot this, print it out, use it for your notes. And I hope that was helpful.